cities are total simulations, total economic simulations. These people sitting down at a pub are nothing to do with the story at all. You just wander in there and they're drinking. You can do things like start bar fights. You can steal people's pints. You can even spit in people's pints. And that essentially is pretty amazing. Just trying to get these environments which really surprise and shock people. All the towns that we've got within Fable have systems, so you can become famous within those towns, or you can become totally infamous in the towns. Well, the video that when this was taken, this is a free cam flying around the world, so the character himself somewhere else. Ships come and deliver stock. That stock is delivered to the shops. The prices in the shops will change. Most players will never even see this, but if you want to, you can hide in a bush and mug one of those people that are carrying the crates off there. This is all emergent gameplay that you see. While we're watching this video, is there any questions? I won't talk to the whole of the video because it's fairly self-explanatory. Has anyone got any questions about the design process or anything I've said, or disagreeing with what I said?
On the subject of interfaces, I was wondering if you'd share your thoughts about the future, particularly from the perspective of like the gesture system that you worked on in black and white, iToy and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the gesture system was an interesting experiment. It turned out that in concept, I really liked the idea that you could paint down different and unlock different things within the game. The only trouble is it actually required quite a little bit of skill. And so the interesting thing is we had to, as we were going through black and white, and indeed in black and white too, we had to give alternatives to it. But I reckon, and this is a real personal point of view, the greatest innovation in hardware won't come from the next graphics processor, or the next processor, or the next console, or even the next PC. Someone somewhere will come up with an input device that enables us to do games that we haven't even imagined before. And I sort of reinforced that with, if you remember, with the old Nintendo 64, where they had that little nipple on the joypad. You know, you could play GoldenEye, and that was a completely different experience because you had that little nipple there. So I reckon there is going to be someone is going to come up with a second generation controller, because I would argue that the controllers that we have now were designed to actually move around 2D worlds, and they've been hybrided for 3D worlds, but they're still not good enough. And the number of times that you have to go through and rejig your game because of the controller stuff. Any other questions? Any other questions at all? Yeah.
Hello. I just wanted to clarify, this is running on Xbox hardware, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's running on an Xbox. Within 64 meg, impressively. It started off, incidentally, about 3 months ago within 128 meg, which is a big nightmare. Next question.
Yeah, Peter, you talk about there becoming there being a second generation controller out there in someone's mind, on someone's desk. What is that? I think you use the word controller generically. Do you actually mean something in your hand, or how can you sort of elaborate on your?
Yeah, I mean, there's interesting. I mean, it's really interesting that we've got things like the iToy, which is this sort of unlimited. You know, you don't have to be. You're not limited by any controller there. But the only thing is about the iToy is the only problem I've got is it's bloody exhausting to play games. I mean, I have to have energy drinks after about 5 minutes, and the thought of actually playing a sort of 20-hour gaming experience, you'd be like an international bodybuilder at the end of it. I mean, forget Pilates. I mean, this is a real effort. I mean, we also, for black and white, there was this really exciting moment where this company came to us and said, we have this glove. And this glove allows you to control and manipulate the world, and put it on. And of course, black and white had this hand. Brilliant. I thought, this is going to be fantastic. You know, being able to grip a tree and grab a person is going to be fantastic. Actually, because your mind wasn't gripping anything, there was no sensational feedback, it actually was pretty tough to control the game. So there's lots of blind alleys, I think. There's lots of alleys that will lead to something else, and I'm sure the iToy or something like the iToy will lead to it. I mean, it could be things like, I mean, there's some interesting research going on onto eye motion detection and watching people's pupils, interesting on biofeedback. I mean, lots of interesting stuff. I mean, there has even been a game, I believe, and I never tried it myself, where you could actually think, and you could think go left, and you would go left. I don't know how it worked. I mean, what happens if you randomly, I mean, men are supposed to have sexual thoughts every 15 seconds, so God knows what would happen if one of those slipped in while in the middle of playing a game. But there are going to be, I'm sure there are going to be lots of interesting evolutions. What it does need, though, it's no good for a small company to develop it and it to be an add-on, because the big problem is us supporting it. It's going to require, a fairly major effort from hardware manufacturers. Next question.
As these games require more and more manpower, how are you offsetting some of that costs? Are you outsourcing more, or using contractors? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we have a big outsourcing resource in places like Estonia. We're using an awful lot of people for things like art and animation. We're actually using a little bit of programming outsourcing as well. And that is costing an awful lot more. And of course, for developers, that's tough. I mean, I think people heard Jason Roden's talk